Hey, it's Liz DiAlto, and this is the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast. From body image, sex, spirituality, money and relationships, to motherhood, creativity, business, communication, and desire, Untamed the Wild Soul Woman is the place to come for real stories and powerful advice to help you reclaim and redefine womanhood in the 21st century. Elizabeth DiAlto here, your host for the Untamed the Wild Soul Woman podcast, and today's segment is a wild soul story. And you know, everyone is special, blah, 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 but Crecia's really special. I say that because Crecia's been in my community for years now. She actually, this is funny, I don't think I knew this until we were on the retreat in November, but you downloaded that damn Jumpstart book back in like 2011 or 2012 when I was still doing fitness stuff. So that's how long Crecia's been in my community. She is an OG. She did all of the sessions. She has signed up for every session of the Wild Soul Movement virtual program, the beta, the pilot groups, summer 2014, fall 2014, spring 2015, and then the ongoing virtual program. She's been to my retreat. She's attended, I mean, I want to say a solid 75%, if not higher than that, of the calls that I have put on in the last few years. So when I say Crecia is very special to me, you know, loyalty like that it just means a lot. It's really cool. And also it's been just like a huge honor and privilege, like so exciting. We've shed a lot of tears together to be part in her evolution. So super, super fun. Crecia and I both have that same laugh, so sorry, y'all. I can't make any promises for what's about to happen. So, Crecia, you're in Hartford, Connecticut still, yeah?
Hamden, yeah.
Hamden. I always know it's an H. I don't know why I always want to put you in Hartford.
Sorry.
But, so, for many years, you were a French teacher, and now you're doing more, it's not, is it considered administrative, or I think there's another word?
Yeah, the technical title is a lead teacher. It's basically like an instructional coach for language teachers.
That's awesome. I love that because it blends together. You're also building your own life coaching business. So it's kind of a blend of the thing you used to do and the thing you're moving into.
Yeah, it's beautifully so.
Love it. So before we hopped on live, let me ask you the first question. I get so excited in these to like be with my women. I forget sometimes to ask the damn question. What do you love about being a woman?
It's funny, before we hopped on, I was like, oh wait, what's the question? And I almost tried to think of it, and then I wiped my brain away because I didn't want to pre-think it. So, to be a woman, it's freaking awesome. But I think just thinking back to the retreat, the thing that really, really stuck out for me is the sisterhood and the beautiful, easy community that can happen. And when I say easy while tackling really tough stuff. And the capacity to connect like that is my favorite thing.
So I love that you said that because I'm going to ask you a question because I feel like you're someone who really makes the most out of community and sisterhood, both online and off. And you've seen this in all the different groups that you've been in with me. People ask all the time, how do I find my tribe?
Right.
You know, people are like, the Facebook group is great or the Google group is great, but like, how do I find like people in my own area? And you are someone who has traveled like up and down the East Coast to chill with other wild soul women. I know you've gone into New York City. I think you've gone to Philly. You've gone into D.C. So what do you do to cultivate a tribe, even if it's not necessarily local in your area?
Yeah, and you know, the first is really, you know, stumbling upon a space, and that's really how it happened. And your space was just such a safe, nurturing environment, and that's 100% necessary. You know, there are spaces that are not like that, and I wouldn't bear myself in those spaces the way I do in yours. And I refer to it always as like following the breadcrumbs. So, whatever, I found your smiley happy face on that download of that book, the Jumpstart book, and I was like, hell yeah, she's awesome. And
So
so
for anyone listening or watching, it's not on Amazon. Actually, when I published the book, the Untame Yourself book, I took that down because it's just so confusing. It's so disconnected from where I am now. But the picture she's talking about, I'm in a bikini in Battery Park in New York City, basically in like a jump tuck, looking elated about like. It basically looks like I'm going to take a cannonball into the grass is what's happening. As if I've jumped out of a tree and I'm cannonballing into the grass.
In the total best way.
Right. Like, what's not great about that?
And so, like, no joke, I downloaded that and really, appreciated your voice and found your community and decided that I wanted to share in there because, you were so welcoming and so like protective of the space without it feeling protective. Like it was protected, but it didn't feel like it was, I'm not putting this into the words right, but it was just so very safe and welcoming. And so I wanted to participate. And from there, you see other people participating. And then, that when you hear that voice, it says you want to say something to someone or you want to reach out to someone. And then that other voice comes in that's like, oh, don't be a stalker. You just kind of ignore the don't be a stalker voice because it's a safe space. And, just from there, taking those leaps and furthering communication with those connections.
Yeah, and I think, for me, I had that experience years ago in Marie Forleo's B School community. Like, there's still women, like, to this day that I've now known for, like, 5 years that I haven't met in real life. But I've had deeper conversations than people who I've known since childhood. So it's an interesting time to be alive and relate in community and come together with people. But I think if people can get over maybe things aren't going to look the way you wanted them to look, that they could have the types of connections with people that they want to have.
Yeah, and I just to go back into that, once you have that in this virtual space that is a little removed from every day, I feel like it bolsters you up, or at least it bolstered me, to seek or nurture the connections in real life that resonated on a similar level or that felt like they could.
This is a good point, right? Because you're like, wait a minute, I don't like my real life friends as much as I like my internet friends. I had to do something about that. So it helps you to see what you want more of.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. And what are now your favorite, most passionate things to talk about? So before we hopped on, I was asking you, we've had so many experiences together at this point over the years. I asked you if you could sum it up in a couple words, and you said really your guiding word for the year, phrase, unencumbered embodiment. So I would love, just riff on your story. Where were you? What was going on in your world before Wild Soul Movement? And through the practice or not, because something else Crecia and I were talking about is how many other teachers she has stumbled upon tangentially. Because I'm always talking, like, me, I'm friggin' out in the world all the time. I know so many damn people. So, yeah, just tell us whatever you want to share.
All right. So, the big thing, I had gone through a divorce, and it was amicable. There are no hard feelings. There's, still love and caring and all of that. So it wasn't like it was one of like those devastating divorces, but of course it's a loss, and I grieved it, and I gave myself as much time as I needed for that, which was a lot. And then I got to this point where I just felt so blah And that, like, gosh, that just so wasn't me. And I didn't know how to pull myself out of it. And so what I did was I just, online would follow the breadcrumbs of little things that interested me, people that resonated, messages that appealed to me, and I found, inspirational in some way. And that's how I discovered you. And that's where, our paths aligned at such a momentous time for me. And so I really got to get full benefit out of the communities that you were creating and the programs you were putting out there. And, I didn't just do the programs, I did the programs,
Really did. Showed up.
Yeah, between the journaling, I would go full on. I would do, videos 3 times a week, 4 times a week, and all, bring it all into the groups and get on those calls. And it was so nourishing, and it built me back up, and I say back, but it was also like the me that I had been that I lost, plus the me that I was becoming that was brand new. And that, that process was so very important to me. And then once I started rolling with it, one thing led to another, That's when I started realizing, wait a second, I want something different. I loved teaching. I could have stayed teaching forever, but as much as I loved it, it wasn't the thing. I still had this calling for something different. And once you hear that, you can't ignore it. And so, yeah, things just started happening very quickly at that point, because I was open and I was listening, and your practices are all about just, that opening and receiving. And I mean, so much of my core beliefs are articulated in your work. And, some of it, a lot of it, I don't know how much of it, but, there were pieces that I always felt and believed, but didn't have a structure, didn't have words for, and then some of it was brand new. And so it's just beautiful.
I love that you say that, because for me, whenever I create things, one of the purposes is always to help people remember, is to just remind and reactivate what's already in you. It's not about that I'm giving you anything new, anything you haven't heard of. It's just, maybe I can deliver something in a way that's either going to give someone permission or a safe space to finally acknowledge, like, that tug inside, right? Or that idea, or that yearning, or that longing, or that desire, and then somehow cultivate the courage to, like, stop pretending that it's not there.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
I would love to know, what are some of the lowlights? Like, what was tough for you about, and by the way, I should be better about this, because I always forget that people listening, I mean, this could be the first episode someone's ever listened to. So if you're new here, we're most specifically talking about my Wild Soul Movement virtual program, which is centered around a movement practice that combines sensual movement with mantras and meditation, the whole purpose of which is to help women get out of their head, get into their body, and really reconnect with and cultivate that creative, that sensual, that soft, receptive, feminine side that also nourishes you. We love the masculine, and this is about integration. This is about coming into the balance that works for you. And the core of all of it is this belief that everything you've ever needed has always been inside of you. So it's not all hip circles and fun. What sucked, or what were some of the deaths, right? I feel like we initiate people into death and rebirth a lot. People are like crying on the mat like, oh my God, I thought this was supposed to feel good. And I'm like, oh, it'll feel good later.
Let's see. I feel like one of the necessary tough points for me was that like the in between phase. So, the eyes are open in a different way. Things are coming in, other things are leaving, but that takes time. And so you're like rocked open and then also living life and going out into the world trying to navigate it in this new identity or this new iteration of where you're at. And that can be tricky. That can sometimes you're hurt in different ways because you're open. Sometimes it's just confusing because, like, how many times in a call would I be like, oh my God, I can't believe I didn't think of that, or I didn't realize
Yeah.
that. And like all this time, so there's a bit of that as well. Like, but we say like low lights, but it's also beautiful, that, and learning how to be in that uncertainty is one of the things that now in the space where I'm at, it's such a gift and such a skill that there's such a calm and peace that I bring with me no matter what's going on. And part of that has been built by that, in the field work of staying in that place of uncertainty, knowing that we'll get there, either with time, space, doing the work, or all three. Yeah,
I
I
dig
don't know.
that. So, and what's cool in what you just described is uncertainty is rarely across the board. There might be uncertainty in like one to a couple categories of life, but there's always something that is certain or stable. And I feel like with you, this connection you have now to yourself is that thing. I loved, so at the time of recording this, we just finished the Untamed Self Love Experience, which ran around Valentine's Day 2016. And the day one activity was to give yourself a full body massage. And Crecia had shared with us yesterday in the Facebook group that she didn't do it on day one because she was feeling like it would have been forced. And she's no longer willing to force herself to do things. How about that?
Yeah.
I loved reading that. And you waited several days, and then you described when you got to it. I'll let you describe your own experience, but I was just so proud of you for not doing it when it didn't feel right. And to me, that is the certainty, right? Like, I know myself and I trust myself.
Yeah, yeah, and that's what I mean. Again, that's with me now everywhere in every scenario. It's priceless. Yeah.
Um, so tell us what happened when you waited to do your thing until it
Oh,
felt good.
yeah. So, um, some obstacles got in the way at first. It's really, really cold right now, and my apartment's even colder. And so I was like, oh, I don't want to do it now because it's cold and yada yada. And so I was like, heck with that. I got my little space heater out and I went and I did it. And, there it was a really special experience. I'm like rubbing my feet and seeing where I haven't been as kind to them lately as I might like to, and so there's calluses, and instead of being mad about it or trying to like go buff them up and fix it so they're all perfect. I just loved on them and I just rubbed them and was there with them, and that was a unique experience.
I
Yeah,
love that, like resisting that desire to fix.
yeah,
acceptance instead of needing to constantly be improving or upgrading or updating everything. So if you were having a conversation with someone and they're like, oh, you did that wild soul movement thing, like, should I do that? What would you say to that person?
Of course, I would say something along the lines of check in with yourself and you'll know, and it'll be a hell yes. And if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no.
Yes.
But yeah, it's, I mean, I feel like I feel like if, just going to your website or watching one of your videos, it, if this is for someone, I just feel like even if they're, maybe not as connected with listening to their inner wisdom and really trusting it, I still feel like they'll know, they'll get enough sense, they'll be pulled in, and that's their answer.
That's cool. And for some people, I'm noticing now that the program has been out for almost 2 years. People being like, I've been waiting for months. I'm finally taking the plunge. I think like you said, it could be a little bit scary to go in and look at the things that you've been trying really hard not to look at.
Yeah.
It's cool. What if you had to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, just so we can make it kind of tangible, of 1 being not connected at all, 10 being super, super connected 24/7, where are you in your body connection and soul and self connection right now?
I have so much difficulty with number things, but I don't know, like, I want to say a 9, and then I'm like, who do you think you are with your 9 self? I feel like I am. I feel like maybe even a smidge more than a 9, but not a 9.5. I still have, these moments or these instances where I get rocked by things or taken by surprise, but I feel like the path back is quicker and easier, and I get back to myself.
I love that.
Sooner.
Before you started doing Wild Soul Movement, so this takes us back to like the fall of 2013, where would you, and I know memory can be kind of funky, but where do you think you were on that connection scale then?
Gosh. I'm feeling like 6-ish, but even that, I don't know. Like, I think I thought I was more than I actually was.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah.
Well, amazing. Congratulations. I love and I'm always excited to see you. I was just joking with Crecia yesterday. I love how you're organized, right? You're not like on social media all the time. I could always tell when it's like her allocated time to sweep through, because she'll post, she'll like things. I'll start getting all the notifications in all the groups, and I'm like, oh, Crecia's sweeping through. I love it. It's actually inspiring for me. I'm like, I should do that instead of just like leaving it on all friggin' day. So you are the best. I love you. Thank you so much for sharing your story, sharing your perspectives. I think we're good here. Anything else?
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
For all of it.
See you later.
Bye.
Oh, duh. Again, I was also talking to Crecia before we started this. I need to also remember, we just talked about Wild Soul Movement the whole time. I've done this on almost every interview so far. You can find the information at untameyourself.com/join-us. And if you want a taste of the movement practice, even though that's only one aspect of it, but if you want a taste of this body connection experience through the movement, you can go to untameyourself.com/try-4-free. And as always, show notes are at untameyourself.com/UW-podcast. So I was all excited, and talking to you feels like I'm just like catching up with someone on Skype. So I was just about to be like, all right, see you later. Now for real, we can go, because we have directed people where the information is if they want it.
Right on.
See you later. Bye.
When big change, like when something falls out of your life, or literally like burns and crumbles, because sometimes it's really messy, right? This is
Yeah.
where sometimes
Yep.
construction piece can be really messy. I literally think that like as the smoke is clearing, there is an opportunity to exponentially accelerate because you freed up all this energy. This energy
Totally.
is bound into all this stuff. And the minute it crumbles, there's an opportunity of freed up energy, and you either use it or you lose it.